people out there how you got into what you're doing? Describe a little bit maybe yourself and what, you know, how you got into being the person and the DJ and the artist that you see in front of us called Sened.
I started off as a hip hop DJ when I was 10, 11 years old.
Right.
I kind of first started getting into music when the whole kind of hip hop electro breakdance thing was kind of coming about in London, and I just kind of saw it everywhere. And yeah, I wasn't very good at breakdancing, I wasn't very good at rapping, I was pretty bad at graffiti, so I kind of, because I collected music already, I just started making tapes for people, and eventually that kind of led to DJ.
Excellent, excellent. And then so, from doing what you did then, you got into that, what would you say was the seminal moment or point that got you into, you're white, you're a techno DJ, you support that, what was that step or that seminal moment or that record that made you think, okay, out of all the music there is out there, I want to do this. This is the scene for me.
I stayed with the kind of hip hop and electro thing till kind of like the late 80s, maybe 87, 88, and then lots of my friends were going to like acid house, warehouse parties and stuff, and they're like, oh, you've got to come to one of these parties. And I'm like, no, I'm into hip hop, I'm a hip hop man. And I went to one of these parties, it was like biology, and it was Start 89 or something, and it was just amazing. It was just completely different to anything that I'd experienced before, and like 10,000 people in an illegal warehouse listening to house, the start of techno, and I was just like, I need to do that.
Absolute unity. I've been through the same experience. It was mind blowing, wasn't it? Just that you didn't know it existed really.
And admittedly, at that time, hip hop wasn't amazing. It wasn't the strongest point for hip hop in the late 80s. It was just kind of, it was okay, but it wasn't the stuff that I really loved. It wasn't 86, 87 stuff that I loved. 2 years later, I was just like, okay, I'll try something else. And yeah, from that I became like a acid house DJ and started playing clubs, and eventually that kind of led to just being a techno DJ.
What led to you making the transition from being a DJ into producing?
Initially it was just for fun. I think the first demo that I ever did, I was like 12 years old, and it was like me scratching with like a rapper, and it was fucking awful. But I think by the time house music came along, and a lot of the stuff that I really liked was quite simple, and I could kind of hear that it was quite simple to make. And it was just, I could hear that it was just like a drum machine, a loop, and something else, and I was just like, oh, I could probably do that. And yeah, I think like the late 80s, I first started trying to do acid house stuff, and then when the whole rave thing kicked in, I was like, I could definitely do that. And I just made loads of tapes and stuff, but it wasn't until probably about 96, 97 that I actually started kind of getting my own sound. And before that, I never had one. It was just, I went out to a club and I heard a track, or I bought a track out of a shop, and I was just like, I'll try and copy that, and then it kind of became, like an individual thing. It's like, oh, that actually sounds different to other people, and yeah, I just kind of progressed from there.
Right, so what was your first release?
My first release was the first Theory Records, which is my own label, and that was 98.
How did that feel?
It was good. Yeah, it was good. It was kind of something that felt like it had been coming for so long, but I just kind of, I think in about 95, me and a friend booked the studio, and we did like some pretty terrible hard techno tracks, and we were like, this is amazing, and we're going to release this, and everyone's going to love it.
Should release it now?
Release it now. It's terrible. It's terrible. But we were really positive about it, and right at the last moment we bottled out about putting it out.
Right.
And I'm kind of glad that we did, because it was just a copy of what else was happening at the time. And yeah, when the release finally came out, it was something that I was really proud of, and something
that's what I was going to lean to. Yeah, we were talking about it before. A lot of people, really gifted people, sometimes make stuff and just overanalyze it and don't release it. So you were like totally happy with it. You were like, this is me.
Finally I was like, I've got something different. And I was really nervous when the first release was coming out, and we sent out like a bunch of promos to people, and I can remember within the first month, like this is before it got released, going to see Jeff Mills playing, Derek May playing.
Derek May?
Yeah.
The guy getting that black hat?
Yeah, that guy. And Yeah, they both played it, and I was just like, that's
Yeah.
like my first record. It was just, yeah, it was an amazing experience.
And that kind of set you on the course.
Yeah, it was like, you know, because I thought that maybe, you know, after a few years of doing this, you know, these people would support my record.
They did
did
from
the first one.
I'll give you a shake for that, mate. Okay.
That was amazing.
So that was like late 90s.
Yeah.
And so how did things progress for you then?
I think from then, I mean, I used to just have like my mobile phone number on the label, and people started trying to book me for gigs. And before that, I mean, I was doing bits and pieces around London, some stuff around the country. I think I did like a couple of gigs in America in like '96 or something, just off a mixtape that I gave somebody. But I was kind of, I was DJing a lot,
Yeah.
but not enough to kind of quit my day job.
Right.
And then from that point onwards, it became more obvious that people kind of were interested in the sound that I was doing, and I started getting more and more gigs kind of around Europe, and it just got to the point where I was, you know, doing so many gigs at the weekend and I couldn't work during the week, and I had to make the decision. And from that point, and that was like '99, it was just like, you know, I need to do this professionally.
Yeah, it's a leap, isn't it, to make
Yeah.
that kind of always make a leap of faith to do it, but you know.
But it's kind of weird when your hobby turns into your career, and I wasn't really ready for it, and I wasn't expecting it. I just thought, well, I'm going to put out a couple of records and I'll be quite happy to carry on playing in the clubs I'm playing at, and it doesn't lead to anything. I'm still doing something that I love.
That's probably the reason why you are where you are now, because you didn't push it, you didn't force it. All the people I've spoken to, and all the people I know from my own experiences and stuff, a lot of the time the people that are too eager and push it too much, you know, kind of fall flat on their faces, whereas the people who just did it for the initial love and want to do it as a hobby, and the people who say it's that essential phrase that you use there, when the hobby becomes your job, it's like the ultimate dream, isn't it? And that's really that really you're in it for the right reasons, which is probably, you know, has a lot to do with, you know, the reason you are where you are now.
No, I think it makes
Apart
a
from
lot of
talent, charisma, good looks, you know,
Obviously.
looks like myself, you know.
No, but I think, yeah, it does make a lot of difference, because you can, yeah, I know people that have kind of, you know, just run into it a bit blind and don't really know too much about the scene or whatever, and it's just like, I was a fan of the scene for so long, and even when I was kind of breaking through as such, I was still a fan of the scene. When I wasn't working at the weekend, I was still going to see the DJs that I wanted to see and hearing what was going on with the music, and I was still kind of 50% party boy and 50% DJ producer, and it's like you still, yeah, I was still energised by the whole scene. I didn't just go, right, this is a career move, and it's like, it still doesn't feel like a career, it just feels like I'm doing something that I in love, and that's
Can you talk about a little bit about how it was for you making music then and how it's changed? Obviously, there's been rapid advances in technology and, you know, the way people use studios. So those first records you put out, what kind of gear were you using?
It was pretty amateur. It was pretty amateur. It was all kind of set up in a room at my mum's house, and it was like hi-fi speakers on the windowsill and a couple of samplers and a drum machine. Really.
Did you have a Casio keyboard?
There was definitely some Casio involved.
No,
I just had like a really basic kind of poor man setup, and it's just like, I don't know, I mean, back then, you know, people used to get the equipment that they can afford and make the most of it, and I think now it's like people are really spoiled.
And that's what I love
They can
about
get everything,
yeah.
they can download everything.
I think
get
it
it for
spoils the
free.
music a little bit as well. I think the beauty of that time of music was a lot of it was made on really, really lo-fi stuff, and therefore it had to be amazing. You had to have a really good idea. You had to have a really good
Nothing is,
idea.
you've only
But
got
it didn't matter.
You've only got one keyboard. You're going to learn it inside
Yeah,
out.
exactly, yeah.
You're going to spend your whole time doing that. If you've got one drum machine, you're going to learn everything you need to know on that drum machine.
People became masters of very basic,
Yeah.
you know, small, humble studios about amazing music because they did not inside. You're quite right. If you've got a rack of VSTIs nowadays, 30, you know, 20 and 30. The people who I know who speak to who make really good music keep it really simple. They have 5 or 6 things that they know they work really well, and they just work with that, and they have brilliant, you know, amazing sound. Like you said, they know stuff inside and out. So how's that? How are you now then? How are you?
I mean,
how's
now
your studio set up now? Do you still have a Casio keyboard?
I've still got one on the side, yeah. But I mean, I've kind of now things have progressed to the stage where technically, technology has kind of advanced beyond my skills, beyond what I even care to learn about. So now I work with an engineer.
Right.
And years ago it was just me fussing in the studio and playing around with bits, but now it's like I don't understand a lot of the new programs, and I don't actually want to, and I haven't got the time. It's like because it gets to the point where I lose the idea that I've got, and I spend the whole time trying to work out how to do it. It's like no, I actually want to do what I used to do, which is like I've got an idea and I'm going to work out how to do it. And now it's technology has kind of got me on.
No, good on you, mate. You know what I mean? No your strengths, no your weaknesses.
Yeah, no, I know that's. I think you know the releases that I've done in the past couple of years, I'm really proud of, and it's because I've been working with an engineer, and I could have done it much earlier because I had the ideas, but I just didn't have the skills to do it. So now now I feel comfortable doing that, and I think for the first couple of months, people would ask me, like, I'm working with an engineer now, just like, but no, I'm comfortable.
Do you know what I think? I think it's a testament to your personality as well, because it's not easy to work with people. Yeah? A lot of people can't work with other people. Yeah, and if you can, two creative people coming together, even if it's just a straight engineer, you're always going to have ideas and creative ideas.
I mean, it also helps to have somebody else in the studio, or just somebody around, even if it's just a friend, and you're kind of jamming away on some idea and you think it's amazing, and they just go, that's fine. Yeah, it's just shit. And it does really help, because sometimes you just be like, I've got this idea and it's going to fucking work, and you're just there.
If you're on your own, you go into it. And the thing is, repetition, when you hear it over and over again, when you hear it that many times, you think it's good anyway.
You get like an hour past a good bit and you're like, no, it's still there, I'm still going to, and it doesn't work. And I think working with them, I mean, I work with a guy called Paul Mack, who's a producer as well, so, he's already established, he's already an artist, he makes his own music, so it kind of, I mean, he's more of a geek than me, which is why he's my engineer, because he follows all the program updates and stuff like that, and I don't do that. But he's also, he's established enough and respected enough, and I respect him enough to when he turns around to me and say, he just says, Ben, that's rubbish. You've got to stop doing that, and I'm just like, no, you're right. I disagree with him sometimes, but sometimes he's right, so.
Can you talk me through some of your highlights of the last 12 months? Really, what really sticks out? Can it be a record, a gig, an experience that really kind of jumps out
There was a gig that I mean, it's a pretty random gig that sticks to mind. It's a gig I did in Rotterdam the end of last year, where I met a guy at a festival called Montrose in Spain last year. It was after I finished my set. I just sat down chatting with him, and he's like, oh, you're into like loads of different types of music, soul, funk, disco, hip hop, whatever. If I book you, can you just play all of that? And I was like, this is just a drunken conversation. This is not going to go anywhere. And eventually we did it, and we did it in this venue that was like an underground subway going under a road, and it was just like 250 people, and I got there and I literally just played whatever I wanted, and I don't think I've ever done that. It's like, I keep everything very separate. It's like I've got me as a techno DJ, I do acid house sets, I just play acid house, I do occasionally like disco, soul, funk sets, sometimes I'll do a random hip hop set, but I've never been somewhere where I'm just like, I'm just going to put it all together, and it was really good.
Maybe that's your calling, leaving you London residency.
Maybe, I mean,
you played from the start to the finish.
No, I mean, I've done it, I was putting on my own parties in London, and always the second room would just be a bit of whatever, and I'd kind of be really self-indulgent, and if someone complained, just fuck you, it's my party. And I always really, enjoyed doing that, but I never took it anywhere else, and I never thought anyone would be interested in it, but no, it's pretty good.
What's happening for you in the future? What you got coming up? All these people that see these interviews now, how can they get at you?
I'm just about to start work on my first ever album. So that's something that's kind of scary, because it's something that I've avoided at least 3 times before.
Is there going to be any songs in there?
Yes.
Excellent. Right.
Yes, I want to work with a couple of vocalists. There's one vocalist I've worked with already. It's something that I've been planning and talking about and thinking about for 10 years. I mean, I signed my first album contract in 1999.
How did you get out of that?
I just didn't do it. And then about 3 years later I signed another one, and I just didn't do it. No, I didn't take any money up front, so it's like they couldn't say anything. But Yeah, this time I'm like, I'm ready for it. I want to do it now. I want to try something a bit more ambitious and not just do, you know, DJ talk and the stuff that I want with my sets. It's like I want to do something that kind of reflects a bit more of what I'm about. And it's like people know me as a techno DJ, but I've been into so many different things and I've just ended up being a techno DJ. I could have quite easily been a rave DJ or a hip hop DJ. It's just this is how things
I've
have
got
worked
a
out.
hook up with Big Daddy Kane. You want to do some techno?
I thought about. I mean,
Tech
someone said he's going to be about $5,000 for a couple of verses, and I was like,
I'll have a word. It'll be alright.
Have a word. That's what I want.
Talk to me after the show. Beers are on you.
Oh, definitely.
And I always ask people this: a seminal record, a record that you heard and went, "That's me." That's you know. I'll tell you, mine was Joey Bob's with No Fast. That was having.
That's a pretty
hook, line and sinker. When I heard that, I was like,
no, I mean, this is not me talking about mine, but I can remember where I was the first time I heard Energy Flash, and it was a rain dance New Year's Eve party. I think '89 or '90, and Groove Rider, Fabio, a couple of the other drum and bass guys, they all played it, and I heard that track 5 times in one night, and I was just like, oh, I need to know what
that track, as much as Spawning, it probably, when you look back at how they invented drum and bass, they were basically playing speeded up hip hop records over acid house or over like techno.
Yeah.
So that is probably one of the kind of forefather records of drum and bass. So that's so come on, you got to give up the goods. What was yours?
I mean, it's
one record that really stuck in your mind.
It's pretty obvious, but
that's okay.
Terry Party People,
Right.
or as it was called, Royal House Party People.
Right.
Because I used to be so obsessed with hip hop and so into hip hop, but the hip hop show that I used to listen to on the radio had started playing house that sampled hip hop.
Right.
And essentially that's, you know, it's a house record that samples a couple of hip hop records and that's it. And the guy used to play it and I was just like, oh, well, that kind of sounds different. And I think from that point I became more open to other stuff, because before that I was just like hip hop, anything connected with hip hop, funk, soul, disco, just hip hop. And I wouldn't, you know, people talking about house music, I was like, no, fuck off. But from that point I was like, oh,
Okay.
the two can merge, and yeah, that definitely changed things.
Excellent. Mr. Sims,
Pleasure.
Senor Sins.
Benito.
Yes. Great talking to you, mate.
Thanks,
Pleasure.
mate.
All right.
Elek Tronique.